Hey guys, today we're bringing you the local market insider information, and I'm really excited to have you guys watch this one and then actually take the time and watch the national so you can kind of understand the nuances for our local market here in Phoenix. So we're going to jump right in here. This is all done by the Cromford Report, who are a group of local mathematicians that all they do is study the real estate market here in Phoenix. And they put together all kinds of charts and graphs for us to really get a good handle on what's going on. And this is actually the rental rates, and this is starting with apartments. So we're watching rental rates so that we can help go through investors, and we're also watching the market. This also plays into affordability. What these apartments are renting for plays into what the CPI or PCE, whichever one takes the big chunk of housing into account, but it's actually rental rates and not mortgage payments. And so you can see we're looking at 3-bedroom units renting on average for $2,100 a month, and that's actually down 3% from second quarter of 2022. So 2-bedroom units on average are $1,671 a month, a 1-bedroom is $1,408, and a studio is $1,100. So overall, the average rent in Maricopa County is $1,550. So it's actually gone down about 4%. So we are seeing this soften here in the listings that actually get posted to the MLS. Here's what our average listing rate is for those homes. It's about $2,100, and that's what they've actually closed at. So they're asking about 22, they're getting about 21, and these are actual closed leases. So when we translate that $2,100 for a rental payment into mortgage payments, we're looking at a $365,000 house would give you $2,157 for a mortgage payment. So they're pretty dang close. That's kind of guesstimating like apples to apples. Here's a 1,200, 1,300 square foot 3-bedroom apartment for the same thing for a house. This is with a 2-1 buy down and an FHA payment. So if you want to know how to get payments like this, we can surely help you, but they are possible. So home prices by area. This might be a little bit challenging to see, but this is where everything is under $400,000, where you can find $400,000 or less for a home. And so you can see parts of Mesa, all over AJ, Queen Creek, Florence, Maricopa, coming back out here to the West Valley with Buckeye, Goodyear, pretty much all of the West Valley with Glendale, Phoenix, Surprise, and then heading up that way. So when we're talking supply, we have 3-bedroom homes as of, and this is a couple of weeks out of date, but there's 360 active homes in that same square footage range that we were looking at for rentals that are under $370,000. Over half of those are in Pinal County. So that's Florence, Coolidge, Casa Grande, Pinal, Santan Valley, kind of all of that, Eloy, Arizona City, Maricopa, the town of Maricopa, all of that is where you can find homes like that. So they are available and things are affordable. You just have to be willing to do a little bit of driving to get into Phoenix. We've got a little bit of an inflation update. We touched on this in the national news, but we can go into it again because it is important. The target is 2% for the inflation number, and we're sitting at 3.1, and this is a year-over-year average. So you can see there's a big jump here. So next month, that number should be coming down, and we should be seeing that average kind of flatten out because the line there stopped going up in July, August, September, and it's been really flat here. So we've got a few more months yet to start seeing that level off and plateau. And this is the CPI. So we're talking about owners of, well, this is a little bit of a ranty part, but when we talk about interest rates, here's where they were in October. Locally, we're at 8.03%, and this is actually Mortgage News Daily. You can check this every day if you choose to. But these are where rates have been, and they got as high as 8%, and then they came back down, which is why we saw the big spike in the market activity locally here right through the holidays, which was not common, and then it's been climbing. Today, we're about 6.8-ish, I think, when I saw it this morning. So they have come down just a smidge. We see a lot of resistance locally at that 7% mark. So when we're talking about the, this is the PCE, so this is 2.6. This is where we're trying to get to that 2% trajectory. So you can see we had a big leveling out of stuff going on here, so we're hoping that that carries over and continues. And we have some really good news next month that we're hitting that target that they're trying to get to. So this is why, because we're headed in the right direction, they're not going to keep raising the Fed interest rate. They're going to kind of watch this and make sure that we keep heading in that direction before we start seeing things kind of drop. So this is the Fed, and then the bond market is actually what controls the interest rates. So when we see the bond market go up, we want to see that turn and then go down, right? So that's the one that controls everything. Our next meeting is actually March 20th for the Fed, so we'll see what happens there. But you can see the treasuries, the bonds going back and forth, and then actually when it flips, whereas our inversion where the green line, the 2-year bond, is actually higher than the 10-year treasury, that's the inversion, and that's generally what one of the precursors to a recession. So we'll have to, kind of keep watching that and see what happens. But here that is, you can see where the green line is now on top. So CPI year over year, here's where we were at 13%. Now we're down here between 2.7 and 3.4. The 2.7 number is actually Phoenix. The red line at 3.4 is the national number. Oops, I'm sorry, this is employment, not inflation. Employment. We were better on our employment numbers in the nation, which is pretty great. Here's our accepted contracts. So when we're talking about accepted contracts, these are the buyers that have found a home and gone under contract. So you can see we're the red line here. We're starting out way below even where we were last year. In 2015 kind of shadows out the brown line here in normal market. And so when we're looking, we are well below where we really should be for the amount of people that live here. So this line, we're trying to wait and see if it catches up or what this is going to do. But generally our big spring market is when we see the majority of things happen, and then it kind of tails off the rest of the year. So Case-Shiller index, everybody always talks about the Case-Shiller. This is where it is, which is showing 2.5% inflation rate. Case-Shiller though is a 3-month moving average that's published 2 or 3 months behind. So it's actually 5 months of data behind what's really going on right now. So Case-Shiller is still operating here in November. This is now March, the end of February when this was all released. And so we can see November to November, it's 4.5%. And this is a slightly different metric because this takes into account homes that are sold off market as well as new builds. And so we can kind of see what's been going on. So February to February, this is where we are. It's about 6.7% inflation year over year. So when we're talking about median sales price, February 2022 was $450. February 2023 was $415. We saw the market drop about 8%, and it's recovered just a touch over 7. So we're sitting at $445 right now. So from 2 years ago, the market's about in the same spot, but we have seen about 7% appreciation when we're talking median sales price. So median sales price in February was $445,000. So we're talking monthly averages. Averages can be a little bit different. So the same thing would be a drop of 5%, up about 6%, and we're still down about 5% from the peak of things in May 2022. So in this, of course, is price per square foot, which is about $289 locally. So homes under 2,500 square feet, which is 80% of the sales, we're actually incredibly flat. So we've only gone down 0.6% between 2022 and now. Last year we saw about 6% in appreciation. And then homes over 2,500 square feet, we have in the last year seen 4% appreciation. So when we look at the Cromford Market Index, which is a measure of supply and demand, this shows annual appreciation with the rate of inflation and the market index. So this line here, where everything kind of is at 0%, means balance as far as the market index goes. So everything above that line is basically like a seller's market, and then the Cromford Market Index inflation follows the market index. So when the market index goes up, then these high inflation numbers will follow. So you can see our index is climbing again, so we should see inflation start going up faster than the general rate of inflation as we go. So the monthly average here, we're up 3.2% for annual sales price. And then here we go, every election, rates come down. So here we go, election, rates went down, rates went down, rates went down. Then they'll go up again afterwards, right? So So we'll have to see what actually happens here. The election, they brought them down, election we brought down, election we brought down, election we brought down. So as we head into an election year, we do expect those interest rates to keep dropping. So seasonally, the election always happens in kind of our slowest period of the year as far as sales goes. So this is just kind of our normal seasonal dip. I wouldn't say that that's actually any kind of election expectation. You can see our normal season, right? Here's COVID, here's the insanity, and we're kind of back into that normal, at least seasonality cycle that we had last year, and I kind of expect that again this year, so we'll see. So Cromford Market Index again. Here's where we sit today. So here's a measure of the market. We're at 117. Any measure over 110 is a seller's market. 90 to 110 is balanced. Below 90 is a buyer's market. So at 117, we're a very, very weak seller's market, and that changes depending on the city. 100 is normal for buyer demand. So we're about 25% below normal on our demand. 100 is normal for supply. We're about 35% below normal on our supply, which is giving us just that slight advantage to the sellers. So you can see there's not a lot of movement over the last month either. So here's that market. Here's where we look. We're this little blue dot right here. It's hard to see because it's lining up pretty closely with 2023 and going very flat. Here's 2022 when rates started changing here, and it really slowed our market down, for example. So this is kind of what we saw last year, and it looks like we're going to be right in line, if not just a little bit below. So prices respond to supply and demand indexes, right? The greater supply, the less demand, price goes down. If there's no supply and lots of demand, prices will go up. So you can see this is that measure between the sellers, or the supply and the demand. Demand is green, supply is purple. Here's where that inversion was. The supply was way higher than the demand in the big crash. This is where prices dropped. The red line then is pricing. So you can see as long as the green line is above the purple line, prices are climbing. So here is that little inversion right here where the purple line got above the green line just for a very, very small second. But anytime where the green line is higher, that does indicate a seller's market. We do want both of these to be kind of normal and against the balance line, because that means normal demand for the area and we have a normal amount of homes to show them. So new listings. In January, we saw 8,500, just about 8,600 with the coming soon new listings. That's growing here. You can see we were better than 2023. We're still low for those counts though. When we look at all the years past, going back to 2001, we're one of the lowest years for new listings hitting the market. That did get a little bit better in February, but not a ton. So here's our sellers markets that are still here. Here's balanced, and here's buyers market. So the sellers market: Chandler, Gilbert, Glendale, Fountain Hills, Phoenix, Mesa, Tempe, Avondale, Scottsdale, Peoria, Anthem, Apache Junction, El Mirage, Laveen, Sun Lakes, and Tolleson. All of those are sellers markets, with Tolleson being the strongest, and is it Peoria is our weakest? Yeah. And then our balanced markets: Cave Creek, Paradise Valley, Surprise, Goodyear, Litchfield, Arizona City, and Sun City West. And then our buyers markets then are Queen Creek, Buckeye, Maricopa, Casa Grande, Gold Canyon, and Sun City. Those cities, there's a lot more negotiation power. That's what a buyer's market means, is that buyers have the advantage going in and looking at homes. So our contract ratio, again, this is talking about the seasonality of things. You can see we're starting to climb again, but we're watching that because with interest rates, we have kind of stalled out a little bit. So we'll see where that takes us and how long we kind of sit here in the stall. From activity standpoint, the number of buyers that we're talking to, the number of mortgage applications that personally that we are giving to our mortgage lenders, that activity level has risen in the last 10 days or so. So I'm hopeful that with just this little bit of a drop in the interest rates and the good inflation news, that hopefully that'll fix some of our demand problems here and get people back out into the market. So, oops, that didn't work. Let's see if this will launch. It's not launching. So this is our contract ratio map. You can see January 6th. The brown or redder colors are the hotter markets. So this is, I believe, 85210, maybe. And this is out here south of Tolleson. Those are our two hot markets in town. The yellow ones are still pretty good, right? So this is all Laveen. This is out by the arena. This is up north by the chip plant. This is up by Desert Ridge. This is down by Santan Mall. And then this, of course, is just a little bit in South Phoenix. So as we kind of move through the year, there's other markets that are kind of popping up as hotter. Right now there's a little bit more. Chandler's kind of grown out and become hotter. Now we've got a lot of South Valley and a little bit here at the turn up here in Peoria. And you can see, whoops, not too far. It's a lot in the East Valley and it's a lot down south here where they're developing. So very exciting. There's a couple of cold markets too, with Scottsdale, downtown Phoenix, and then right here at where the 202 hits the 10. So if we go to Pinal County, this is all very, very cold at the beginning of the year. And then we start to see Santan heat up. This is, oh my gosh, over towards Sandfield. So you can see like these are coming if we can get there. So we still have Eloy, still a little bit cold. So we'll wait for some of the more snowbird activity to come in there. But 45% of all deals that we see close right now have a concession, which means that the seller is contributing some money off the price to the buyers, either fees or to buy down an interest rate. So this is pretty high considering we were down here about 10% a year and a half ago. So normal here is about 40%. So we're still pretty high. In December, we almost hit 50. So that concession in February looked like $9,500. That's what the average was. In December, it was pushing 10, so we're hovering right about $9,500, $10,000. And then the 65% of these markets are the ones where we're seeing the concessions. So a lot of them are down here with new homes. A lot of it down here in Queen Creek, right on the Queen Creek Mesa border. Here's downtown Gilbert. Here's as you go down and around South Phoenix. And then this is all Buckeye and Goodyear heading up into Surprise. This, again, a lot of new home developments are going on there. So days on market, about 28 days by the time they get a contract. So it's down from last year at 34 the same time, but we are way different than we saw in this crazy frenzy over the last few years where it was 6 days, 7 days. That was a big jump last year to get to 34, and it looks like we're going to be pretty steady and consistent right in here with what would be a normal market for us. So our sales and list ratio, we're getting about 97.5% of list price, which means that if you're listing a house at $200,000, then you expect to get about $193 for that house in your offer. So you can see this is higher than it was. It was down here about 96.5, so we've come about a whole percent. And then in our crazy period, we were up over 100, 101 or 102 on average. So year over year, sales price per square foot has gone up 7%. The median home price has gone up $20,000. Sales over asking price are back up to 3% of our market. Seller concessions to the buyer are 51% now, or I'm sorry, 47%, down 4% from where they were. That concession has gone up about $50. It's still hovering at $97.50. Then our list price to sales price is at 97.5, up from 96.5. And our days on market are going down. So it went from 52 to 39. So not a bad outlook for our local market here. If you have specific questions in any cities or neighborhoods or price points, anything like that, let me know. We're happy to be that resource, of course. And if you want to see any specialized graphs for you, this is what we use in all of our pricing strategies. So if you want to see anything special, let me know. We're happy to be that resource for you. Thanks.